Hello, this is Sabina at Cross Keys Crafts. I've been doing a bit of experimenting off camera. I've been meaning to record this video for a while, but I didn't really find the time. So I thought when I had about half an hour, I just thought I'll have a go at this and then come back to it when I'm sure about this. The other thing, sorry, I just lisp. I just licked my finger here. I've got my desk full of sequins from my last Shaker Christmas card, so I just spotted that there. So my idea was this. I've got this new Shadow Bloom, I think it's called, stamp from Lavinia stamps, and I thought, well, sort of developed or the idea, I wanted to stamp this on vellum. And I started off with this thicker vellum, which is like a, really white, and this is lovely. I just used the VERSAFINE Clair Very Perry, and I really like that. But the problem with stamping on vellum is, well, there are two things. I did it with an acrylic block to start with, and it's easy to slide on the really slippery surface. The other thing is, and I was aware of that in a way, it actually does not dry very well. I didn't want to heat set this because I didn't want the vellum to warp, but I thought I'd just leave it to just set and dry naturally. The problem is, if I just show you these two in comparison, I stamped these at the same time, you can actually still rub this off even 3 days later. So I tried this. I've gone over this with a tissue there, but yeah, it still comes off. So that's not the greatest solution. I then thought, by the way, for the technique I wanted to use, I found the thicker vellum wasn't that good. So before I realized it's not drying that well, I thought I'd just use some thinner vellum, that's like the standard vellum. And this looked great to start with, but I don't know how well the camera picks it up. When I let this to air dry, it actually started bleeding. So although I've got the purple here, there is like a pink shadow to this. So this stamp has got no definition at all. Let me just put some white paper underneath. Might be able to see that a little bit better. Sorry, the light's not great at the moment. I've got no daylight anymore. So yeah, I was quite surprised at this. I thought this would dry better. So, and I think this comes off a little bit. It's something I can work with, but it's not what I wanted. So the final solution was the one that I knew would work, and this is to use clear embossing powder over the VERSAFINE Clair, and this is what I did on this one here. It does look a bit fainter compared to this, for example. Well, not fainter as such, but the colour is a bit lighter, but this is because obviously the embossing powder reflects this. There is a fourth way of doing this, and this is to use StazOn, but I've only got StazOn in black. I didn't want to use black for this, and StazOn also can harm your stamps, so I didn't want to do that, but you can use StazOn, and I think it's available in other colours as well. So I just want to show you again how I did this, because I want to show you two techniques with the heat embossed vellum, or stamped and heat embossed vellum. I already had a go here on a scrap piece, but I used the thicker one, which didn't work that well, so bear with me. I just get another piece of vellum ready, and then I'll show you how I've created this one here. So I have already placed my piece of vellum here into my stamping platform. I've already put my stamp on here. I'm not bothered about, I just cut this with scissors because I will cut this down, but I want it big enough to be able to work with it. And as always, when you do heat embossing, you need to use your anti-static powder just to make sure you don't have any static on here where the embossing powder could stick. So, and I'm just stamping with the VERSAFINE Clair. This is great for embossing because it stays wet longer so you can easily apply the embossing powder over this. So I'm just making sure I'm inking it up everywhere. Get rid of that. Oh, I thought it was a cat hair. No, it's from the brush there. So, and then I'm just pressing it down. If you use an acrylic block, by the way, be mindful not to slip, not to apply too much pressure. Try to put it on from the top and not from the side, because I've done that a few times. So I'm just pressing this down. I could get my stamping buddy, but I think this will be okay for this. So I wouldn't be able to put it back in anyway because it's just stuck to my stamp, but this looks fine to me now. So all I'm doing now is what I always do, is just get my embossing powder here, which I'm keeping in this box. So I just need to dip this in here. Actually put it through like this. Give that a bit of a shake. And you can see whether you've covered everything if it's all matte, and I think I'm happy with that. Give it another little flick. Bit of excess here that I can just brush off. So I'm heat setting this now, but on my first heat setting, I don't want the vellum to get too hot because it will definitely warp. There's another little stray star. Jeez. So yeah, I will quickly do this off camera because I want to spare you the noise. But as I said, I think I will actually put a mat underneath as well. I don't like to use this on my mat, so I'm just using like an old placemat. And as I said, I will just move it around as well. That's important. Don't keep it in one place. And then make sure everything is clear. And when you know everything's clear, there are no matte areas left, then you know it's properly heat set. So this didn't take long at all. It's a little bit more warped than this one, but it doesn't matter because I think I will put it through the die cutting machine anyway. Use this one for the second technique, I think, and I will use this one, I think, for the first technique. So what my original idea was, it sort of developed from the idea to use the single flowers from Lavinia stamps and to mould them like you can do with flowers that you pop on top of the card. And this is where I was sort of reminded of this idea. And what I've got here is just some packaging, very plain packaging that came, I can't even remember what it came with. And all I want to do is I want to emboss this from the back. So I'm placing this on here now, and then I'm using one of these tools here. You can get different thicknesses. I wouldn't choose a very small one. I think the rounder it is, the easier it is to use. When I had my trial run, I actually went through the vellum, so you don't want to do that. You don't want to apply too much pressure. So what I'm doing is, let me just zoom in for you. Hope we're in focus. Let me start on a bigger one here. I'm just applying pressure within the petals. I'm just following the shape of the petals and go on the inside. Just very gently, and you will find that the vellum turns white. So it's not that milky anymore, but be gentle. Go in a circular motion or back and forth without too much pressure so you don't poke this through. And when you then turn it the other way, you've got this embossed look to it. If you're not happy with it, if you want to go back in, you can do that. Obviously, it takes a little bit away from these little lines in here, but if you stay within the lines, this looks really, really nice, and it's very easy to do. And it's also very therapeutic. So I'm just showing you another one here. The important thing is just stay within the lines, because you still want to be able to see the, in my case, peri. Is it called peri? No, that's chicken. That's peri. Periwinkle, that's the colour. Got a brain fog moment again there. So don't apply too much pressure, and then you get this sort of look, which is really, really nice. So that's the first technique. I'm going to continue this off camera, and in a moment I'll show you the second technique. For the second technique, you just need an alcohol marker, or you can use more than one colour. I won't bother too much about doing anything sort of, blending or so. I think one colour is just fine. I had a little try run here at the bottom. What you do with this, you colour this in again from the back. So whichever colour you use, it won't be as bright on the front as it is on the back when you apply it. So I'm just using the pointed bit here. Oops, something stuck to that there. So, and again, ideally you stay within the lines. If you're not so sure about this, use a lighter colour, but if it's too light, it might not show on the other side. So I don't mind going over the middle bit, because that will be hidden by the colour and the embossing powder on the other side. I think that's it. And then you get this effect. Let me just zoom in a little bit. My eyes are a bit blurry. So you basically colour this in, but you stay within the lines there. It's really easy to colour in. And obviously you can use different stamps. This one's a bit fiddly at the top. The bottom ones will be much easier. I'm actually thinking about to vary actually the colours of the flowers, see whether I want different colours. I'll have a little think about this. So really easy to do. I don't know if you can see that. It does show a little bit where I sort of put little dots in the middle, but I think once it's down on the card it won't show as much. So that's just another idea. I don't know, I've just had this idea. I don't know if you've seen my video. I can link to that below. I think I showed in one video how to just create a background with the alcohol markers. I might actually show you that as well, and create a third one, maybe with a different flower, and show you that technique as well. To show you the third technique, I've stamped the Flower Divine 1. There is another one of this set here, and there is a double one, but I only ordered this one here and the twin set. And this time I stamped it in the Bluebell. I just wanted this a little bit to be a little bit darker. So I've heat embossed this again, so that's all cooled down now, really nice. And again, I'm working from the back, and all I'm doing is I'm going to apply my alcohol markers a bit randomly. I've just chosen a turquoise, a purple, 2 greens and an orange. This is just on a whim, and I really like this technique because it is so easy. So I'll actually put the colours down in circles, I think. Well, circles, if I say circles, just some blobs. And it looks like a hot mess, but the effect is really, really nice. I remember now I created this effect when I created the crow with the Sheena stamp set. Don't have to go in circles, you can go in stripes. Just thought I'll introduce a little bit of orange. Don't mind mixing them a little bit. So, and this looks really like a hot mess. Just zooming out a little bit. And what I'm doing now is I've got here some spirit alcohol in a bottle, and I'm just going to spray that on here. Just making some space in the back. I don't want anything to splash there. And as soon as I apply that, the ink starts moving, and you get, at first you get a slightly speckled look. By the way, a little warning not to inhale the fumes. I just did that a little bit. I've got, my cat is not in here in the room, so I'm pet free at the moment. So I don't know if the camera picks it up. I try not to tilt it too much, but the alcohol dissolves the alcohol ink in the pens, and then it starts moving. And I really like this, to leave this and let it happen randomly. I should have gone with a bit more colour, which I can still do. I'm just going in with this, and so I'm just applying a little bit more here because I want there to be some colour behind the flower, and also adding a little bit here, hopefully not getting it brown on there. So I might as well add a little bit of the spray. So, and I'm just leaving this to sit for a moment whilst I'm actually continuing this little job. So my 3 panels are finished. This one has dried really quickly and nicely. I've got a bit of a speckled look while I applied a bit more of the alcohol, spirit alcohol, so I could play around with that a bit more if I wanted to. Could also dab a little bit of alcohol on, take it off, but I just like it the way it is. And obviously this is the right way round. Just to show you again, the camera doesn't pick it up that well. So, and these 2 are finished. With this one here with the purple, what I did was, because I didn't quite like the plain purple here, I went over this again on the back. Maybe the camera picks it up a little bit better here. Let me just zoom in a little bit. And I just used a much lighter colour and just dabbed all over this, and this gives a little bit of a speckled look, and it looks a bit more natural. It's a bit tricky to see, I think, on the camera. And this one I just finished embossing. So for these 2, I would like to use the scalloped frame die. This is an inverted scallop. I got these free, I think, once with an order at Craft Stash. Otherwise I wouldn't have ordered these, because they are actually a DL size. But I think it would be lovely to cut a frame with this, and then to frame these 2 images. For this one here, I think I would just like to stick this down on my card base as it is. Because I'm creating a frame, I don't need to worry about how to stick down the vellum itself, because I can just stick that down onto the frame and save myself, you know, from using any other adhesive. Especially with this one here, I don't want to use any adhesive at the back that would dissolve the alcohol ink. But for this one, I will use an adhesive sheet. These are from Crafter's Companion. Any adhesive sheet is fine. I think I will actually just cut it down a little bit, because I don't want to waste anything. I will cut it down with my guillotine properly afterwards anyway, but I think I just want to cut it down a little bit so I'm not wasting anything. So let me just zoom out again a little bit if I can. So I'm just testing that this would actually fit on here. Yeah, I will be cutting it down at the top and bottom anyway. So all I'm doing is I'm peeling this off, making sure the adhesive is on here. Just folding this over a little bit like this. And now I'm aligning this actually at the bottom. I'm not too bothered about the side being accurate, because as I said, I will cut it down anyway. And then I can press it down at the top, and when I've done that, I can now move this adhesive sheet, sorry, the release paper away. Oh, I've got a bit of a crease in here now. Never mind, I can maybe just get this out a little bit. Can cut that off where it's the worst thing, so it's best to do it bit by bit. I think the other thing is because it's a little bit warped, that didn't help either. So, and then I'm pressing this back over here, the release paper, and then I can cut this off. If I hold it against the light, I can actually see, or even on the back where I need to cut it down. And when I take the release paper off, yeah, I can see now I need to cut it down a little bit more, and I will actually cut it down in my guillotine. So I'm trying to press it down just a little bit more where it's not, where it's a bit warped, but it doesn't matter. So I might just cut this strip a little bit slimmer. So I will quickly cut frames from, I think white cardstock would look best, because I will put these on a white card base, and then I'll show you how I continue with the cards. I have cut my 3DL card bases. They are 8 1/4 because they're cut from an A4 sheet, and this is 8 inches, so I scored at 4 and folded these. From the cut-offs, which are, let me just check, just 3 and almost 3/4, from this I have created these two frames here that will frame these two vellum pieces. I have used the inner scalloped frame as planned, and then the edges, or sorry, the corners, I used my corner rounder for that. I have cut them down just a little bit. Just noticed that my, oh no, that's the cut off. I think I showed you that some of my cardstock is damaged, but that's not the card itself. I have cut off a little bit here because this is slimmer than the card base. I didn't want it to be the same height, so I cut this down as well, so it fits on here nicely with a nice frame around the actual frame. So now to determine how to cut down these panels, I'm just taking the cut-offs, but I could also use the die itself, and I'm placing this on here to get an idea how I will space this. And then this is obviously the window. I can just go around this here. I need to leave some edge to glue this onto the frame. I don't want it to go too wide, so I'm just drawing with a pencil around here. I'm not even sure whether you can see that on camera. But this now I know how to cut this down, and I'm doing the same with this other one. For the coloured one that has got the adhesive on it, I've cut this down generously because I really want this to just be a panel on the front here. I want to place it, could place it in the middle or even on the right hand side, but I like it on the left hand side. So, and I just want to show you how to stick this down, and I hope I'm getting this right. Similar to how I've glued this onto the strip, I need to, can't even get the release paper off now, I need to place it on there as well. Let me just fiddle with this off camera. So that didn't even take me that long. So I'm just taking a corner off here, and as before, I'm placing the panel, let me just move this up a little bit. It's always tricky with DL cards to get them on the camera. So I'm placing this here at the top, making sure it's where I want it. The bottom is the one where I've got the release paper off, and the ones it's straight at the top, I'm pressing it down at the bottom. And now I can slowly peel the release paper off and press the rest down. So I just thought I had a crease there, but it's actually the embossing powder that I could feel. So I can now press this down here and peel the release paper off at the same time, because ideally this time I would not have any creases in there. I managed to cut most of the creases off. Just take your time. I'm not using a tool or whatever, because I've got the heat embossing on there and I don't want to damage that, but I think this is fine as it is now. Just pressing it down at the top there. Just checking against the light now that it's all adhered. There we go. So it is straight on the card now, no hassle there at all. So all I need to do for this one here is find a sentiment that I think I will put on a strip to go across here, because it is a little bit bare here on the stem. So to adhere the frames to the vellum, I could use some tape, but because I've got the scalloped edge, I'm a bit worried about, you know, getting too close or whatever. So I think I'm just using my collal glue. I've taken my fine tip off. It's still a fine-ish one, but the glue wouldn't come out, so I'm just using it as it is here. We're making sure I'm getting fairly close to the edge, but not too close because it might actually ooze out. I just want to use this up now. So making sure that the embossed, or the bits that come out, and definitely the heat embossed bit are facing the front. So, and placing it down without moving it too much. And again, because it is slightly warped, I have to press it down. I will actually back this, so I'm not too worried about it adhering everywhere. But ideally I need a bit more glue at the bottom, I think. I will also, because collal glue can dissolve fingernails, sorry, not fingernails, nail polish, I will actually use a bit of paper to press this down. Just apply a little bit of pressure. I don't know if glues like the Cosmic Shimmer glue would work. I would think that this the solvent-based ones would work better, but I think this is fine. I'm fairly warped. I hope that that will settle once I back this up. So I'm doing this same now with this one here, and then I come back. I could put these panels straight onto the card base here, but I think this looks a little bit boring, and I think it's actually nicer if I back this with a colour, because I think the white will then pop a little bit more. And because I've stamped this in this periwinkle colour, I've just chose a sort of periwinkle or lilac colour. The same with this one here. I thought about using some green, but then the colour of the purple went all muddy, so I think it's best to stay in that colour family. Another option is, if you'd like that, is to pop the frame on some foam tape, or you could even cut a few more of the frames and then lift it up, and then you've got a nice 3D effect. But as I said, I just stick with this version here, and for that I will just use my Cosmic Shimmer glue this time. So I will just put glue on the frame, not on the vellum, and stick this down, and then I can put the whole panel onto the card bases. Here are my finished cards. In hindsight, I should have used the tape after all instead of the liquid glue, because this one here warped quite a bit, and especially when I glued down the panel as well. I had a bit of a blob behind the purple panel here, but I covered that with a sentiment strip here that I put on some foam strips. So I'm quite pleased with it, but I even tried to flatten it before I put the sentiment strip on, but it is still a little bit warped. Maybe with time it'll settle a little bit. With this one here, I put this one down with the tape. Sorry, my brain's just gone. And that, I think, worked a little bit better. Both these panels were a little bit warped anyway from the heat setting, but not too badly. With this one here, I decided to go a bit fancy and put the sentiment strip on across here, just to have a variation from this one here. As always, this is the Visible Image Go-To Words. It's still my favourite stamp set, and so I thought I'd just go for that. I had a look in my stash for anything else, but I didn't really like any of my other stamps. I stamped these both again in the Very Peri to go with this sort of subtle purple look, and then this one here I stamped in the Bluebell again, the same colour I used for this one here, and I left this a little bit wider and just stuck it across here. Yeah, and I think these are really nice. I'm pleased with these, and I thought, you know, that was my idea, to show you some variations of what you can do with vellum. So basically colour in the back, and then just colour elements here individually, and then do the dry embossing with a stylus pen. Yeah, and if you like these cards, you might want to give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of what I'm creating, I post videos at least twice a week. You might want to subscribe to my channel. I'd be very happy about that. And I'll see you soon with another video.